Okay, there it goes. Um, okay, there it goes. There it goes. I think I got it, guys. Think I got it. Yes, got it, guys. Got it. Cool, cool. Man, yeah, no, I'm doing good, guys. How about yourself? How y'all doing on this Friday? I don't know why it keeps happening. The audio keep having issues like this on the audio for Streamlabs. Um, all right, cool. Let me save this real quick. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Need to make another change to this. Done. What else? All right, cool. I think this is it. Let's see. What up, Casey? Got Casey in here. What up, man? How's everybody doing, guys? Tequila night. It is tequila. You know what? You know it's Friday, so as we talk tech, we talk tequila as well, right? I'm not. Again, those of y'all know I'm a tequila guy. Been tasting all the tequila, so we're gonna be drinking Cabo Wabo today. This is Blanco. This is my choice to drink, Cabo Wabo, and so this is not a new drink. You know, normally I try to taste new tequilas, but I kind of went with something that I have purchased before, right? Which is a Cabo Wabo, which I like Cabo Wabo. It's a good tequila, so I kind of decided to buy this one today since I know it's good, how it tastes, and all that. Let's learn AWS, ETL, SQL for sure, man, for sure. So that's what we're gonna be doing today, guys. Those of you who are joining the live stream, um, we're gonna be going over some. Pretty much, we're gonna do some basic ETL process in AWS, where we're going to consume a basic file. We're going to move that file from S3, use AWS to extract the data, and then we're going to load it to a Redshift environment. And so that's what we're going to do. Now, one of the requests that came in from Python developer that's on here as well asks, okay, once we load the data to a Redshift database, then can we do some transformation, right? Instead of doing it in the Glue, from a Glue standpoint, we're going to do it on a database side, right? So we're gonna go through that process of extracting the data, and then of course once it's loaded in the data in Redshift, we'll do some transformations, and so there's a few ways to do it. So we'll kind of play around with those two different ways of at least what I have in mind when it comes to doing it. But man, glad all of y'all guys are on here, man. Again, like always, Friday. It's tequila night, so of course I'm gonna be sipping on my tequila as we talk tech, kind of go over some stuff. Again, guys, y'all have any questions, man? Drop it in the chat. Be more than happy to answer any questions that y'all may have. We are gonna go over again some stuff, how I mentioned, but you're more than free to ask any kind of questions as well, man. So, y'all have questions? Go ahead and put it in the chat, guys. Just checking a few things real quick. Cool. So let me go ahead and let me log in real quick to AWS, and then we'll kind of get started. I also need to get the file. I know you provided me with a file, Python developer as well. So let's get started with that real quick. With that file. So one thing I did notice, though, the file that you provided was a Excel file, right? So we cannot do an ETL process using Glue with Excel. Well, let me rephrase it. You can, I guess, to some degree, but not really, right? So ideally, you do want the file to be more in a CSV, JSON, Parquet, those kind of formats. So But let me just find your file right quick, and I'm gonna save it into this folder as well. So let me go ahead and just create a folder under my sandbox environment. Let's see. AWS S3 Redshift. All right, so we'll save it in there. Let me find your email real quick. All right, yeah, well, yesterday that you provided it. Let me get that saved. Then I should be able to show my my screen. So let me minimize this. All right, cool. I think I got it. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. We can use AWS. Data Wrangler and convert to CSV. Okay, let's skip wrangling, keep it CSV. Yeah, so for right now, we just convert it to a CSV. Again, there are different ways to do it. We could have a process. Like for example, if we have a process where we're pulling data from, I'm gonna just pick for example SharePoint, right? Then ultimately you could convert that file. Either you download it from SharePoint at Excel, you convert it through that process, like in Python, and then save it as a CSV to the S3 bucket. You know, that's one way to do it. Another, if it's gonna be more like direct, somebody dropping files directly to S3. Normally in those cases, you would, the process would be, hey, it needs to be in a CSV file, right? Just kind of make it a standard. But again, for right now, let's go ahead and open this up. Let's take a look at the sample data. Let me make this a bit bigger. But ultimately, this is what we're going to be loading, right? So very basic, nothing, special. It's just straightforward. I'm going to go ahead. Let's save this bad boy, and we'll save it as a CSV. All right. So cool. We have that. As a CSV. So I need to log into AWS real quick. So let me log into the my test environment, or my sandbox environment, right, for AWS. All right, cool. So now that I'm logged in, let me go to S3. How y'all guys doing, man? Everybody doing good today, though? On a Friday night? Y'all doing anything special? Just kind of relaxing, drinking tequila like me? Or y'all just sipping on your water? What's going on? I'm sipping on water, too. Again, gotta stay hydrated. So I always got my cup of water with me as well. So I actually got a long night of streaming tonight. Again, I'll be streaming here on YouTube from 9 to around 11. And then I'll be on Twitch after that at 11:30 to probably, I don't know, 1:30 or 2. And so yeah, I'll be on there after this for a couple of hours. So let's see. So pretty much I'm real close on Twitch to become Twitch affiliate. So my goal is to become Twitch affiliate by Sunday night. So that's the goal anyways. So I'm going to be putting in some hours today, tomorrow, and Sunday. So we'll see if we'll get there. All right, so what I'm going to do, let me zoom in because it's kind of small. The text looks kind of messy. So just FYI, it's not you. I see it that way too. I noticed it normally does that because I was remoted into this machine from another machine earlier, and I don't know why, man. Every time I relog in here, it just looks kind of messy this way. So what I'm gonna do is we need to find a test. Let me find I guess I could use storage. I'll pick this guy. What do I have in here? Staging. Yep, perfect. I have a staging. Cool. So I'm gonna drop this bad boy in here. The CSV file. So let me go ahead and grab it, drop it. and then let's get this uploaded. So what are you doing on Twitch? So on Twitch, been kind of, so I mean, normally what I stream there is, I've been, playing some Halo Infinite. So whenever I do play, that's kind of why I stream there. But the main purpose with that channel is not necessarily just to like play, I guess, games or nothing like that. There's a few people there that I've been interacting with like consistently. They kind of join my live stream. Then of course other people, and it's mostly just kind of like a good vibes hangout spot. We just kind of talk about different things, right? A lot of the time people may ask questions. Again, I don't go over Python stuff on there, but people may ask questions related to programming. So we talk about that kind of stuff, right? We talk about other stuff as well. Just some of the things that I talk to people on that channel. It's the whole like, hey, even if you're in the same position that I was right at one time, which is I don't have a college degree, right? I didn't get my foot into any position or any door because I had a degree to kind of help open up that path. It's still possible, man. Like, it's hard. I'm not saying that it's easy, because it's not, but it is doable, man. You got to put in the work, though. You got to put in, again, either way. But we talk about all kinds of different things of that nature as well. So again, trying to build a nice little community there, good vibes, have fun. Try to keep everything positive, encouraging as much as possible. For sure. Well, not much as possible, we do, but again, can't control other people. So, all right, cool. So we got this file CSV. Let me open up my Redshift instance. That still should be up in. Still should have this. Yep, there it goes. So I have this cluster here that we're gonna be connecting to. Let me go open up my query editor V2, right? V2 is the new one, which is the dark theme, right? So it looks a bit better than the old one for sure. So what we're gonna do, let's see what we have right now. So we have a dev database, we have publics and staging. So we're gonna load it to staging, right? Again, staging, keep everything in staging. We have tables, customers, cool. So we're gonna actually load it into in this staging schema. So it'll be dev database staging schema, and then we'll be ultimately create a new table. So we have our sample data, which is good. What I should have done though is, let me do this because I should have done it. What would we call this? I know it's sample data, but what do we want to call it? We want to call it products. Let me call it products. I'm gonna products or values or something like that. Let me just call it something of that sort. Product summary maybe. So let me go to my staging. I'm gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call this product summary, right? So let's create this bad boy, and then I'm gonna move this over here. So let me do an action move, and let me specify where I want to move it to, which is over here. Alright, cool. So now that I have it moved inside that folder, now let's go back to so it's the Redshift. I'm gonna have to open up AWS Glue. So yeah, Glue. A lot of these that I have, these shortcuts, these are like the one that I kind of use more frequently, so that's kind of why I got them up here. So it's kind of cool because it makes it a lot easier to get to what you need to get to. So if you do use AWS often, yeah, I would strongly recommend, man, start putting your shortcuts that you use often and just easy to get to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to database. I think I already have a database connected, created, but I'm gonna create a new one, right? Let's create a new one from scratch. I'm gonna call this, what did I call it? Product. Let me call it project, something that's generic for now, project 2. Right. Again, this could be whatever, but think of a database as you're gonna have a collection of objects in there, right? So if you're building, let's say you're working on a new project, and it's gonna be maybe it's client specific, or maybe it's feature specific. You could kind of name it something similar to that, because then you're gonna have a collection of. A good example to be, let's say if you're doing ETL processes that may relate to sales, accounting, calls, CRM, whatever it may be. You could call it something like operational data sets, or something, whatever. But either way, that's kind of what it is, right? Think of it, a collection. If you were doing work for multiple companies, for example, so let's say you're working with like 3 different companies, and each company you're building specific ETL processes, for that company, right? Because they have their own data sets, and whatever, maybe they have their own database, all that stuff. Well, I would say this is where your database, you can kind of separate that. You create a database for each client, client A, B, and C, and then you would have all the collections of tables and stuff would be part of that database. So it kind of makes it a little bit more easier to manage. Either way, so we call it project 2. Now we need to get a table created for that file, right, that we just saw. So in order to do that, we're gonna create a crawler. So again, those of y'all who are kind of new coming in here, a crawler, what it does, think of it as it's pretty much profiling your data set. It's going to scan through it. It's going to kind of capture some metrics on it, like, okay, how many columns do they have? What type of column? Like, what kind of pattern do I see? Is it integer data type? Is it a string data type? That's pretty much what this is doing. Does it have a header? Does it not have a header? It's doing all that kind of stuff, right? So we're going to go ahead and create a crawler. I'm going to call this product summary S3, because this is a crawler for an S3 data source, and of course called product summary. Data store is fine. Crawl all folders. So again, if you have subfolders, think of it as this will crawl all of those subfolders, right? You could just do new folder only, but that's fine. I'll just leave it there. I don't have subfolders anyways, but I'll leave it there. Let's do down here under include past. I'm gonna go ahead and select that past that I was dealing with. So I believe it's under this bucket, staging, product summary. Yep, there it goes. Let me select that. Let's go to next. Nope, that's it. Okay, I'm gonna choose. I already have a IM row. So again, this is your first time doing this. You do have to set a IM row with the right permissions. So like I have one already, which is this guy. If you don't have one, keep it on create. It will create one. If you do have one, make sure that you have permissions to access S3 bucket, glue, like to run glue job, that kind of stuff, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. And then we're going to do run on demand. So again, some of the stuff that I may be mentioning, guys, I know some of y'all may be like, yeah, we know this already. But I'm trying to just kind of, at least for the people that are kind of new, and this may be their first time seeing like kind of in detail of what a setup is consisted of. I'm trying to, speaking more for them to kind of help them out. All right, so see, I selected my database, project 2, hit next. So now I'm going to hit finish. And then now if I go to my product summary, I'm going to run the crawler. So again, what does run crawler do? So run crawler is, again, going to profile our file, right? Our file being our CSV file, which is right here that we uploaded. It's pretty much going to scan, and it's going to look at how many columns do we have, which we know we have 4 columns. It's going to find a pattern, like does they have a header? And again, you got to understand, it's not guessing, but it's doing it by patterns, right? So in this case, a header typically is always text, right, in most cases. But so it's able to determine a pattern, like, all right, these are numbers, the X, Y, and Z. And because of that, it's able to tell, like, all right, yep, this has a header. If it cannot determine that it has a header, what happens is it won't set a header. It'll be blank. And, you would have to manually set it. But nevertheless, that's kind of what it's doing, right? It's profiling it, determining if it has a header, if it doesn't have a header, what kind of file is it? Is it CSV, JSON, etc.? The data type of each column. It also gives you the metrics of row count, of how many rows it found, that kind of stuff. And then once it gets all that information, what it does over here under table, right? So let me go to the table. It'll create a table. As you can tell, we have a table here called product summary. Now it's not done yet. If I go to crawler, this is still running, right? So it's stopping, but you know it's not done yet. And then also just FYI, a lot of these processes, pretty much what's happening behind the scenes, right? This is kind of more technical in a ways, but it's spinning up VMs. Think of it that way, right? It's spinning up a VM. It's executing the, the code that ultimately in this case is going to profile your data set, create a table. And then, of course, it has to shut down, just like any other VM, right? So, and that's why the cost is based on per run. I'm not sure what the cost is on a crawler. I know if I don't recall what that is. I'm pretty sure it's very small. If anything, it's not nothing major. I know for jobs, it's they call it DPU, and then you get charged for each one, like 44 cents per one DPU. But either way, now that that's done, we got a message. Go to table. If I click on it, we should see 4 columns. And there you go. Whoa, this did not find 4 columns. So what happened here? You know what? This did not find a header. Which is kind of odd. I'm not sure what happened. Why it did not find a header. Let me open this up in a text editor. It does that sometimes. I'm not sure why it does that sometimes, but it does. Oh, look at this, man. Look at all of these commas. You know what? I think I know what happened here, right? And this is something we probably should look at the data first. If I go and open up the Excel file, see how we have this highlighted column? This highlighted column activates this column as being an active column. So what it does, it has to include all of these other columns with it, right? So in this case, we should have deleted all of these. Delete. And then I should go ahead and do a save as CSV. So those are the little nuances, right? When you're dealing with data, like especially Excel, right? That you kind of get these little weird scenarios where it's like, okay, Excel, you can't really tell in Excel per se, but once you open up the raw data. So let me go ahead. There we go. See how the commas went away? This is how it should look. That's a lot cleaner, right? So those are just those weird cases. So let me go back. What we're going to end up doing here now, I got to re-upload my file in here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on upload. Let's drop the CSV. Cool. So it replaced it. So got to replace. So I don't have to go through the process again to do my crawler again. Now what I do have to do here, just rerun it. So I'm going to go to crawler. So in this case, we realized there was an issue. Let me kind of give an example. Let's say if you're working, you're working with data from a source, right? Let's say it's either calls like CRM data. Maybe you're dealing with whatever source that you're getting files from. And let's say something changes where they add a new column. Well, when you build your pipeline and you have crawlers set up and to kind of do all of that, what you would do in this case is, you would just go ahead and drop the file inside the folder like the way we did, and then just rerun crawler. That's all you got to do. Rerun crawler. Now what's going to happen is when the crawler reruns, it is going to create a new version for my table. So whenever you make changes to let's say a specific data source that you have, and maybe the changes is because somebody added something or removed something, right? And now you want your table to reflect that. All you have to do is make sure that there's a new file there, rerun the crawler, and of course in our table we'll see a new version, right? In this case it'll be like version 2. Version 1 has those extra columns. Version 2 is not going to have that. And now because it doesn't have it, what should happen most likely, it's going to it's going to identify the header properly. The header is going to get identified properly. Then of course determine all of the data types. Okay, so it's still all right. So it's stopping, right? But that means it's done at least. So if I go to tables, let's click on it. See how now we have 4 columns? So that worked out perfectly, right? It worked out fine. And again, it's because, you know, it had these technically extra blank headers. So that's why I was kind of confused. Like, does it have a header? Does it not have a header? It just didn't know. So once we cleaned it up, we have a new version. So see up here where it says current version? If you click on the drop down, we have 0 is the first version that got generated. So if I click on it, you'll see these are the extra columns that we had. If I go back to the current version, that would be the new stuff, the new columns, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. You could always revert back to different versions if you need to for whatever reason. So all right, cool. So now that we have that, and let me make sure that it's done. It's about to be done, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we don't need to wait till this is done. The table there, that's good. All right, cool. So now that we have the table there, we can go ahead and create a job. Let's create a job. And let's go ahead and we're going to add a job. Let me call this product summary S3 to Redshift. Right, so that's what I'm going to call it. Again, you got to make sure in this case, because we're moving data from S3 to Redshift, your IAM row needs to have permissions to Redshift, S3 bucket, and Glue. Right, those are the 3 services. If you're going to be doing more stuff, then you got to make sure they have permissions for that. But either way, though, just kind of keep that in mind. Let me go under security configuration. Again, always got to change the worker type. I don't need nothing that's memory intense. I'm going to stick with standard. My worker, I'm going to put it to the minimum of 2. I strongly recommend, unless you know what you're dealing with, but if you're not, probably start off with something basic, standard perhaps, 2 workers, in order to save costs, to keep costs down. Again, unless you're processing a file that could be millions of records and so on, and you need it done in the quick period of time, then you can add more workers or more intense. How do we set older versions as current versions? You're talking about for the table? Is that what you're talking about? Like you want to set older version as current versions? We'll go through that in a minute. Once we set the job, we'll take a look at that piece. I'm assuming that's what you mean anyways with the table versions, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and click next. So also keep in mind here with the keys, that becomes handy if you're trying to keep things in order as well. Like again, maybe you're building these certain jobs that are for specific customers. So you know a good key would be like client, and then of course you put the client name or some kind of identifier, and that makes it easier in the future where you're trying to just see only job that relate to specific groups of like a project that you're working on, for example. So in this case, I want to select my data source, which is again this is a table that I created over here. I'm gonna hit next. Change schema. I'm gonna hit next. So in here, there's 2 options, right? You could either use table that exists already, so by that, what that means is we'll be back like in 10 minutes. All right, cool. So what this means is let's say you have a table already that's created, right? So in Redshift, you already have a table that's been created, and you want to load to that table. So what we would do in that case, we would run a crawler on that table. Then ultimately it'll generate a table in here, right, under our database. So for example, if we had a table already created, just for example, if we already now we don't. In our case, we don't. So if I come over here And under staging table, I don't have nothing, no product summary or nothing like that. But let's just assume that we did, and it was called product summary. What we would have to do is we have to run a crawler for that table, and then we will see that table in here under the table section. So what we would do here, we would just select that table name. That's it. We have to select it. Now in our case, because we don't have a table that exists, we actually want the glue job to create a table for us. If it does not exist, we're going to do create table in your data target, right? Because we want it to create a table for us. So in here, see how I have JDBC? Again, you could go to S3 bucket, but in this case, going to Redshift. Then of course, I have my connection. Again, under connections, this is where you add connections. It could be a RDS instance, right? Which again could be Postgres, SQL Server, MySQL, whatever. Or it could be Redshift. And what else? I think there's like another option. But either way, that's pretty much, you create it here. And we're selecting it from the drop down, Redshift cluster 1. And then we got to specify our database name here. So the name of the database is called dev, right? So I'm going to hit next. So this is how we want everything mapped. Now, if you want the names to be changed, this is where you could change them here. You could do just double click on it. You could change this to some other name that you want. But in our case, we want to keep it the same. Let me go back real quick. So under here, it says database name. No, you know what? That's fine. Yep, database name. Hit next. All of the values are mapped. Save, job, and edit script. So again, all this is doing is generating Python script. That's all it's doing, right? It's a UI that will generate your Python script. Let me take this, and I'm gonna paste this to the text, subline text. Just it's easier to view over here. All right, cool. Oops, that's not right. This would be, where's Python? Oh, there it goes, Python. Cool. So one of the things, so again, keep in mind what we just did, that whole process. It just a step-by-step UI, but at the end of the day, it just generates the Python script for you. Once it generates it, this is where it makes sense to do your tweaks. If you're going to make some tweaks, one of the tweaks that we're going to make is the last aspect over here, which says write dynamic frame. This is the step where it's actually, let me do word wrap. That it's going to be writing to the to Redshift, right? This is pretty much what it's doing. But one of the things that I'm going to modify here is, so see where we have connection options. We have DB table equals product summary. Then we have database equal dev. So keep in mind, right? If I go back to our database query editor, we have our database, but we also have schemas. So what this is doing, if I run it the way it is, it's going to create this new table, but under the public schema. I don't want it to go under the public schema. I want this to go under the staging schema. So because of that, I gotta type in staging dot, then of course the table, right? So this is schema dot table. Just keep that in mind. If you wanted to go to a specific schema, make sure to type in the schema name dot, then the table. So let me go ahead and take this. Let me go ahead and copy it. Then I'm gonna paste this back to my my job, and let me hit save. All right, cool. So now that I hit save, we're gonna go ahead and run it. We're gonna run the job. All right, cool. So let me get out of this. So you could see the job two different ways. You go to job legacy where I'm at. You could click on the job. And then of course we will see that the job is running. Or another way is let's open up the new job, call it Job Studio, right? I think that's what no, Glue Studio, my bad, Glue Studio. So we come in here, we can see the list of jobs down here. But there's a section called monitoring. So we click on here, Again, it's still there's a little lag, you know, like maybe 30 seconds lag or so. But see how it still shows 0 running? Let me hit refresh again. Why is it not showing? It should show up in here that it's running, but again, it's a little laggy. I don't really use this as much. I normally see it through the legacy. There you go. See, now it shows 1. But again, there's like a minute delay. So you gotta just keep that in mind. There's a small delay. So we look down here, we could tell that it's running, right? This is running. And we could just hit refresh until we see that it's done running. So see how we have our, again, DPU hour. Just I'm gonna keep mentioning that. 1 DPU hour right now, I believe it's 44 cents, right? 1 DPU, 44 cents. I set mine to the lowest settings possible. I will start off there and then of course adjust as needed, right? If you're dealing with very large files that you know is going to get placed in memory, then of course you will need more resources, but just play around with it, figure out what you need. I know when a project that I worked on, we set up all of these jobs and we forgot to change the workers. They got set to 10 workers, GX1 worker type. And every time we ran a job, it was probably about, like, I want to say 3 DPUs. No, I'm trying to think. Not per job. It had to be, so like this is 0.04 DPUs. Man, I think one job was maybe, what was it, man? Trying to do the math on it. But it was not cheap. Well, let me put it this way: for one day, I think it was like $30. Think about it. That adds up, man. When you think about it, $30 times 30, that's $900 a month, almost $1,000 a month. But again, we saw that issue, and the only reason why I saw it is because I ended up looking at my billing for AWS, and I noticed, dude, is like based on what you're using, it kind of forecasts for the end of the month, like how much you're gonna have, and my billing was up by a good amount. Like, dude, why is it so high? Like, what happened? What's going on? So that's kind of when I digged in. I realized that the extra charges was coming from AWS Glue. So I had to look into it, and I realized, dude, no wonder we had like 20 jobs configured. Each job is running, at 10 workers, GX1, and then we're running it multiple times a day. So that's like 20 times 5 maybe, or something like that. I mean, it's literally running about 100 times a day. So yeah, that's, either way, we killed it. Sometimes Glue takes some time to start running. Does AWS charge for the wait time? So they charge for, I don't know how that works on the wait time. Because again, it has to spin up, it runs, then it has to shut down. So the start piece of it could take, I don't know, let's say 15 to 30 seconds. Who knows, anywhere around there. And then when it shuts down, that's another 15, 30, maybe more seconds, right? Whatever, how long it takes. So just those two actions alone, it's taken probably a good minute or two, to execute, like to start and shut down. I'm gonna assume no, that they don't charge you. I mean, I think it's more of for the instant that's running. I don't know if they charge you for it to start up. I think it's more of once it starts, then of course the clock starts. Let me put it this way: whatever it is that they are doing for charging, it seems to be the consistent price. You could tell these all failed, right? And it's for this job here, and I believe this must be a schedule, a video that we were doing and we had it on schedule, right? You could tell 'cause it's all at the same time, but the DPUs are all the same, right? 0.03, pretty consistent. They're all running at the same. So whatever that is, I'm not exactly sure, but like this one, it took 0.04. It seemed to take a bit longer, I think, but again, maybe they do charge it for that. I'm just not sure. even if they do, I don't think it's not to the point where it's very obvious in ways. So remember, one DPU is 44 cents. So let's just assume that that 0.01 extra was maybe because it took longer to shut down or start or whatever. Well, that's when you do the math on it from 44 cents. Let me see. I mean, yeah, it's not much. It's literally like almost like half a penny or something like that. So either way, I have noticed a few jobs took me around 5-10 minutes to start. Damn, that's a long time. I have never had that issue, not to start anyways. I have had jobs where the overall at least based on what I could tell, right? Based on what I could tell, where the processing involved, that like the action that it was doing, that probably took 5-10 minutes to execute, but not necessarily the job took 5-10 minutes to start or shut down. Even times where I have seen where it seems to be taking a while, it's more like seconds, like to shut down, or maybe an extra 10-15 seconds to start, but never minutes anyways, not or that I have noticed. Man, I forgot my tequila next to me. Man, some good tequila. Cabo Wabo. Love me some Cabo Wabo. Alright, cool. So now this is it says it's been successful. So if this is true, let's go ahead and check it out, right? I'm gonna refresh this, and if it actually did work fine, then we should see a new table under our dev staging. Damn, we only have one table. What happened here? Oh, there it goes. I don't know why. See, that was odd. It showed one, but it's really two. There it goes. But we do have two. And there's our data types. Cool. So now if I were to go ahead and query that. So this would be, I'm already in dev. So this would be staging schema, product summary. We should get, we have those all of our products, right? So we know, at least now we know, like, hey, that worked fine, right? That it did a job. It worked the way it's supposed to. Awesome, right? So we're good on this. So let me switch real quick. I don't want to show the email, but I'm gonna look at the email that Python developer sent me. So his request is, let me copy this. Or better yet, you know what? I could show the email. There's nothing sensitive in here. No, you know what? I don't want to show the email address. Never mind. Yeah, I don't want to share his email address with everybody. So let me copy this real quick. And let me just put this in the text editor, Sublime Text, and we could read it from here. Alright, cool. So pretty much the request here was, once the data is available in Redshift, I want to do the following transformation. Again, the specific request is we want to do this in Redshift. So in this case is actual value. This is like actual old value. So again, if we were to look at our database, this is pretty much product, right? This is the product column here, and this is like all of the products. So what it seems like, he wants to group them into what I want to call groups, right? This will be like a product group in my mind. This is what I would consider, right? You could tell these are buckets. So we have a product called apple, and then you have a group, fruit. You got another product called tiger, animals, right? So these are all groups. So he wants to be able to transform it to the group value. And I think he has basically doing some transformation of the column in Redshift, and then unloading that data set with a new value in S3. So normally this is the way I would approach this guy, right? And, something like this, it makes sense to have a cross-reference table. Okay? So if you know you're gonna be dealing with mini products, like a list of products, and then you know you're gonna have conversions where you're gonna have to retransform them to these other groups. This is where I will create a conversion, again, a product group table, and ultimately through SQL we would join those two tables together, and that would give us our cross reference, right, to be able to, you know, reference the product to a group, like a group name, and then we will create a SQL query to report that group name. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. But you know what? Before we do that real quick, hold on, give me a quick second. Let me change cameras real quick. Let's see. All right, so let me see. Okay, so normally in these cases, like these kind of scenarios, right? The way I would approach it would be we would create a table that would have a list. Again, it would be I'm gonna call this product group table. So let me just, I don't need this for now. Let me remove that, and we would create a new table. So I would do create table. And I'm gonna call this would be under the staging schema. I'm gonna call this product group, right? So that's what this is gonna be, product group. And the first column is gonna be the product. I'm gonna call this product group. So it'll be varchar 50 should be good enough. Not no, because we need a value. Second column would be product varchar. Now you could tell our staging table made this very long. When you kind of have an idea what you're dealing with, you could set a value. In my case, I'm going to set it to 55. That should be more than enough to handle even larger values for sure. And really, for now, that's really all we need, man. We just need these two columns. So let me go ahead and create this. Let's run it. Boom, it's been created. So now let's do a refresh. Okay, dev, staging. Then we have tables. So we have 3 tables. Then we do product group. So now that we have this, we need to load this data in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this and let's do some, I'm going to get it into a SQL insert statement, right? So that's kind of what I'm going to do here. So let's see, let's do insert into staging. Let me make this SQL. Product group. And of course, we're going to be loading 2 columns. So in this case, it would be product group. And all right. And then we would do values, and then we're going to specify each value. So in this case, this is where I'm going to do this, right? So I'm going to do this, to kind of apply it to all, comma. Oops, damn, I need to fix the t-shirt one. See how I kind of got screwed up here with the t-shirts because we have the hyphen. So this, and then I believe it will be a comma to separate it, and that should be hold on, let me check something real quick. Okay, just wanted to check something. It's been a while since I have done this. I just wanted to confirm before I start doing something incorrectly. No, but this should work. So ultimately, we're loading all of these. I need to remove the last comma though, but all of these, if we run it, it would get loaded to the table, right? So let me go ahead and copy this, paste it over here, and let's run this. Oh, we got an error. What happened? Oh, maybe it is missing a comma at the end. Or not a comma, semicolon. What am I missing here? I don't need a comma at the end. That's not what it is. Comma, comma, and make sure I'm not missing. Let me go back to my Sublime text. It's a bit easier to see over here. That's good. Values. This looks good. I know how to fix the t-shirt. Oh, duh. I forgot the comma. No one. I knew it. I knew it was something. Yep. Was related to the t-shirt piece. So let me go ahead and run it again. And it should be good this time. Alright, cool. So it ran. Everything's good. So of course now if I were to rerun product group, there's a comma missing line 20. It is. Yep, you're right. Totally right, man. It was that t-shirt one that kind of threw me off. But yep, got that fixed. So now we have data in here, right? We have our products with our product group over here. So now that we have that, right? If we want to do that transformation, really what we're doing here, we're doing a cross-reference. What we're gonna do here, right? So we loaded the data. You know, the ask here was like, hey, we want to be able to transform it, but in Redshift, which is what we're gonna do. In order to do that, in my opinion, the easiest option is to have a reference table, which we call product group, right? And so let's kind of bring in the main table, right? The main table is product summary. So I'm going to call this PS. And then we're going to do a join staging product group PG on PG product equals PS product. Right, so we're going to be joining these two together. So now if I run this, I'm telling y'all guys, man, this tequila is good. It smells real good. All right, cool. So now we have our product groups, and this is what we want here, right? We want the product group. So because that's really all we want, what we're gonna do here, we're gonna pretty much specify the columns, right? It'd be PS, country, PS, scenario, PS. Instead of product, this is gonna be PG, product group. And then this, the last one would be PS value. Now, there's a few things, of course, we could do here. We could do an aggregate if we're trying to summarize everything. But let me just kind of run it for now. I don't know if that was a request. Let's look at it. If it said that basically doing the transformation of the columns in Redshift, then unloading the data with the new value in S3. So it doesn't say about summarizing it. But either way, I'm gonna assume. I mean, this gives us the pretty much what he's looking for, right? From a result standpoint. Even if we were to aggregate it, it wouldn't matter. See how all of these are different anyways. So we can't. Does no good to aggregate this. This is really the we can't get any. You can't summarize it more than this. Pretty much, without taking scenarios out of the equation. But either way, this is fine. So the answer is like, hey, how do we get this out? So again, I'm kind of speaking more what I feel will probably be the easiest option. There's more than one option for sure, but what I would do in this case, I will create a view. I will create a view, and this will be under staging schema, and I'm going to call this VW. I just call it VW product, right? VW product as. So now if I rerun this, now we have a new view, and let me go ahead and refresh. Let's see. Hey, what's up, man? You're back. Cool. So we just kind of went through everything. We got the data. We got the job to load data to Redshift. We got it loading. Not aggregate. So it's not being aggregated here. It's all at its original. So let me kind of show you real quick on what we kind of did. So this is a table that we loaded, right? Product summary. And then we created this table called product group, which is pretty much what you had, right? These two columns here. You know, the way I would handle this is I will create a reference table, and ultimately we do a cross reference on it. So that's kind of where, now that we have a reference table, we could do a join on that table. You know, so we could join by product on product to be able to get back the product group, right? So that's kind of what we would get here. Do you want to keep it as product group, or do you want to name it as product as well? I just do you want me to name it as product? Is that how you want it compared to product group? It really doesn't matter, but nevertheless, you know, this is where it would give us that value. We got a view. So let me do or replace a view. Let me run that. Okay, because I changed the name, this is where I would have to actually gotta drop it. Drop view. So let me drop it. And then of course I could run this guy. Alright, cool. So now we have a view. And of course here's our view. So now what we could do in order to get it out, because that's what you want it, right? You want to get this bad boy out. We're gonna now go back to our Glue, AWS Glue. We're gonna go to crawler, and we're gonna now create a new crawler. We're gonna call this, let's see, we'll call this VW product Redshift. Hey, what's up, Slayer? How you doing, man? Doing good? This is so interesting to me because I did IT in school and use this. That's cool, man. That's cool. Awesome, man. So yeah, and again, man, that's what we're trying to do here, man. Kind of go over different stuff. Um, you know, real stuff that could be used in real work environments and all of that. So, man, that's good. Well, hopefully, if there's any gaps or anything new, you're learning something new, anyways. If that's the case, but nevertheless, man, like always, appreciate it for being on the live stream. And again, a lot of content gonna be coming out in the future for sure, related to Python, AWS, all that stuff. So I'm gonna call this view product Redshift. I'm gonna hit next. Let's see, what do you say, Python? So we save this in a stored procedure call. No, it's a view. We don't have a stored procedure. We created a view. The view, again, if I run this view, which let's go ahead and run real quick. Select star from staging view product. And then here's our new column, right? It's not the new column, but the new cross-reference values of the column. So would have loved to further it, but school just wasn't my thing. And as time went on, my interest changed to cars. Hey, that's again, a lot of the times I would tell you right now, whatever you're starting at some kind of industry in the beginning, I did the same thing, man. And it sometimes it takes time to even realize that's even what you want to do, man. Like you may not even want to do that. You may not even like to do that. Which is why I'm a big fan of trying new things, man. Because that's the only way you're gonna know what you actually like. If you don't try new things, you just stick to one thing because that's what I was told to do, or this is a safe route. You're not really gonna know what you actually like. So no, that's awesome, man. You gotta again try new things, figure out what you want to do, what catches your interests. I mean, so yeah, that SQL script we saved in store procedure. So going forward, new data coming, we can call this procedure. So we did not create a new procedure. I guess, what do you mean by procedures? I just want to make sure. I mean, I know what a stored procedure is, but I'm trying to think. What do you mean by procedure? Do you mean like to load new data to the product group table? Is that what you mean? Or because the product summary table doesn't have the group name, right? The product group name, and we don't really. Unless I'm trying to make sure at least I understand. Are you talking about like when you load new products? Like if you get new products over and over again, like a new file, a new CSV file next week that may have different products. Because if that's the case, the way I would do this, then I would do it slightly different. What I would actually do is I would create a new schema. Let's say we call it a new schema. We call it reporting, for an example. And then this table here would actually get truncated every time that we run the process, our glue process. But the reporting schema would have a product table in there, and we would add on to that table, right? That's where a procedure will come in place. And the procedure would be doing a check. All right, based on the new data that we have in staging, does it exist in our reporting schema? And if it doesn't exist, then load it, you know. So that's the way I would kind of do that piece, if that's what you're referring to in a way when it comes to stored procedure. Lou is not only an excellent programmer but also an influencer. Trying to, man. I'm trying to, right? Again, I'm not baby steps, but I do got some plans for the channel. And hopefully, again, over time, I'm thinking In my mind, it's going to take about 2-3 years to kind of get to where I'm trying to get to, but which is not bad. I know it seems like a long time, but I'm again, if I could get close to it, it's going to be well worth it for sure, man. Well worth it. Table 1 will be new, but reference table remains the same. So this reference table, right, the product group table, you're right, that stays the same. It's not being dropped, not being truncated, it's not being replaced. If anything, it'd be more you could potentially add on to it, right, as you get new products that get classified to new groups. But that's how that would happen. Now this product summary table, this one, it is under the staging schema. So in my mind, the way I would handle this is this would be a drop and replace, kind of process. I would actually drop this and then reload the fresh data in here. Now, the way I have done certain projects that I have worked on before, we would load data. Let's say, for example, product summary. We had something similar like this. And let's say I'm getting a new file every week. It all depends on how I'm getting the data. If I'm getting the data like a master product list every time, then it's fine to truncate and reload. There's no issue there because, again, you got a master file every time. But let's say you're not getting a master file. You're getting snapshots. Like you're getting a list of, hey, we got 12 new products created this week. So the file literally only has 12 products. Then the next week comes, hey, here's 15 new products. But you don't have the previous 12. They're just giving you new products only. In that scenario, that's where what I would do is I will have another schema, right? I will have something like a ODS schema, reporting schema, something of that sort, where I would actually move data from the staging over to that other schema, and then I would do that through a procedure. The procedure would have logic to determine, okay, are these new products, and there are new products, move them over, something of that sort. My colleagues saw your SharePoint to S3 video, and man, their mind were blown. Nice, man, nice. You made it look so easy. Hey, man, trying to do again. I'm learning as well. That was my first time doing, that piece. Doing the piece using Power Automate anyways. But either way, it's all, again, we're learning together, man. A lot of it has to do with not necessarily knowing how to do it, but when you understand the core functions of stuff, it's just a matter of now putting things together, right? And that's kind of what it is, right? So once you piece everything together, then that's always the head scratcher where you got to do some testing and trial and error and things of that nature. So like right now though, again, I have this view that I have. It is joining with the product group, which is going to give us what we want here, right? We have our product table. So if I go back to my glue, again, I'm creating a crawler for my view on Redshift. I'm gonna data store is fine. Crawl our folders. I'm gonna hit next. My data source is gonna be JDBC. And my connection is going to be my Redshift cluster 1, because again, that's what it's called, Redshift cluster 1. This is where I got to specify. See how it's kind of hard to tell, but you got to specify database, schema, and table. So my database is dev, schema is staging, table is view product, right? So that's kind of how you specify it. We're going to hit next. Add another data store. Nope. I'm going to hit no. Again, make sure you have a row that have access to everything, which in this case would be Redshift, S3, and Glue. Hit next, run on demand. I'm going to choose a database, which again, project 2. I'm going to put everything in the same project. I'm going to hit next, finish. So now this view product Redshift, crawler, I'm going to go ahead and click on it. We're going to run the crawler. Right, so it'll probably take about 2 minutes or so. once this is done, of course, what should happen is we should see a table populate over here. Um, and either way, once it's created, then we'll be able to create our job to be able to again move everything over. So let's give that a minute, or probably take at least another minute or so. We'll see how long it takes. All right, let's see. Let me refresh to see where this is at. All right, still going. Again, it takes a while. There's some time that you're right, man. It may take a minute or so before. I don't know how accurate this is either, man. Like, which I know it says starting, but I don't know if it's like legitimately still starting. See, like I hit refresh, still says starting, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it's like being timed to the precise second either, right? Eventually, there's a point where it does start, and then of course start running the process, the job. But I wouldn't be surprised there's a small delay. Like I wouldn't be surprised the job is already running. It just the status just takes a while to open up. So we use your previous videos CSV logic. Last time we encountered the CSV 000 error, but you resolved it. So I think what you're referring to is the exporting out to one file, right? That I think that's what you're referring to, like to be able to export it out to in order to do that, we had to make sure that the partition of it's only one partition, and we could add that logic once we get to the point when we do the job. And then we had to specify the name for it. But in order to do that, we had to do a renaming. So I don't know why it doesn't allow you to specify a name. And because it doesn't allow you to, it's doing a auto generation, like a unique name, which is fine. But it doesn't specify the file type either. So, and here's the thing though. Even though it doesn't specify the file type, like doesn't specify .csv or .json or whatever, it's not an issue when you're automating processes. Again, I have worked on many projects where the file name, the extension of the file, is not provided. So, but we know what file we're dealing with because A, we look at it. B, a lot of the time when we start the project, they tell us like, yeah, we're going to send you CSV files, for example, or we're going to send you Parquet files or JSON files. So we know what file it is that we're dealing with because they tell us. And then of course, when we create our jobs, the jobs don't care that there's an extension or not. The job literally just looks at the data. And along with the data is CSV, then of course it's able to process it. I think in your case, though, it makes a little more sense. If you're going to have people that want to see, see, like they're gonna be touching the file, so it's not automated. It's more like kind of like a report to the end user, like, hey, here's a file for you to kind of review. Then that's kind of where an extension does make sense because your applications look at extensions to open up the files automatically or not, or which software to use to open up that file. Then of course it just makes it, from a human standpoint, unless you're aware of it or not, but if you're not, then it's like, oh, well, what kind of file is this? How do I open it up? Because double clicking it is not going to work. Can we control the file size in Glue while export happens? File size. So what you mean by file size? What do you mean by that? Because Glue would export everything. If you have a table that happens to be 50 million rows, it's going to export all 50 million rows if that's the case. Now you're trying to limit the export amount, and maybe this is what you mean anyways. This is what I'm thinking what you mean. But if you're trying to limit the results, so let's say you have a table that has 500 million rows, but maybe you only want to export out a million. Then in that case, again, this is the more quick and easy way to do it anyways, would be in your database, create a view, and then just limit the view to, a million rows, right? Then, of course, when you call that view, that the view is doing all the work. So if you and one of the benefits of having it in the view anyways would be if you're ever trying to modify in the future, like, well, you know what, we don't want a million rows no more. We want to change it to 100,000. You literally just update the view, which is very quick. Anybody could do, and then you're done. Compared to updating the Python, the job, you would have to log on to the console, log on to find the job, modify the Python script, do all of that to do it. So again, it depends on what you're trying to do, but this, at least in my opinion, having a view with a limit set on it, it's the quick way to do it, put it that way. Let's see if it's done already. There it goes, it's done. And boom, we have our new table here, right? Dev, staging, VW product. Cool. So now we could go ahead and create our job. But before we create our job, let me go to my bucket. I'm going to staging. I'm going to create a folder in here, and I'm going to call it unloading, because we're going to unload it to this folder. So that's where we're going to have it at. And then, of course, now we could go ahead and let's create our job. Before we do that, let me see something real quick. Let me see. All right, cool. So let's get back at it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create a job. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna job legacy. We're gonna add a job. I'm gonna call this product Redshift 2 S3, right? Any plans to visit Dallas in September? 3 places you would recommend. Oh, you're coming to Dallas? That's cool. So from a restaurant standpoint, there's this awesome steakhouse. I don't know if you're a steak guy or not, but if you are, there's an awesome steak place called what is it called? Papa Steakhouse. I think that's what it's called. Anyways, I actually went there a couple of months ago, and it's a nice place. It's real, like the food is really good, man. If you like steaks, so that's a steak place to go. In a way, if you're looking for like restaurants and that kind of place, for sure, that's for a place to go. But if more for entertainment, man, I don't know, to be honest with you. Our Dallas has good Indian and Mexican cuisines. They probably do, man, because they do have a lot of different mixtures of food. I haven't been over there in a while. I stay in the Fort Worth area, so I do stay in the Dallas Fort Worth area, DFW, which is Dallas Fort Worth. But I actually live in Fort Worth. Normally, whenever I go to when I go to Dallas, it's whenever I go to Micro Center, for example, more tech stuff, um, places like that. But yeah, I'm trying to think about Mexican cuisine. There's this place that it's a hibachi place. So I don't know if you like hibachi. Um, my wife actually the one that mentioned it. She said it was real good. She went there. I think it was like over about a year ago or so with some friends. She went with my sister as well too, and they said it was like real good. She was supposed to take me, but yeah, we never went. So standard, two workers. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. I know more places in the Fort Worth area because again, I live in the Fort Worth area. Um, like there's a steakhouse called Del Frisco's. Again, I'm a steak guy. I like steak, so I know a few steak places for sure. When it comes to Mexican food, though, it depends if you want like real, like true Mexican food. That's where you gotta go to, like the. There's an area called Northside, like where I live at, and I mean, a lot of Mexicans live there. Put it that way, right? It's an area like that, and that's where you will find like the real authentic Mexican food. It's good, little small hole in the wall places and stuff like that, but dude, the food is good. A lot of the time, that's where you find some of the best foods, right? You go to the little hole in the wall places, and man, you find some of the best foods there. All right, so I'm going to select my data source, which is my view table. Change schema. Nope. I'm going to create table and your data targets. I'm going to select S3 bucket. So we don't want JSON. So I think you mentioned this last time. Well, how do we know? How do we pick the format? So this is where we pick the format here under format, right? JSON, CSV, Parquet. I'm gonna pick CSV because that's what we want. No compression. Then of course I'm gonna pick the bucket. So this is our bucket. Staging. Unloading. And that's where it's gonna go. So same thing. You can modify your columns here. Data types. I'm just gonna leave them as is. Keep them the same. But nevertheless, if you ever have a view or something where it's, let's say this was called product group, right? Let's just assume that's what it was called because technically that's what it is, the product group column name. You can always modify it here and be like, yep, you know what? Take away the group and you leave it as product. So just kind of keep that in mind, right? You could always do it from here as well. We're going to save job. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take this Python script and again, put it in Sublime Text just because it's easier for y'all to see as well. And this is where we're going to make some of those changes, like the video that I made before, right? So again, kind of going back to the video that I made, we're going to make some of those changes on here to keep everything in one file and to have a specific name set as well. So let's see. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and let me go and make sure. So under data source, see where we have our data source. This is where it's calling our view. This is where we're pretty much getting our data back on that piece. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to do data source equals data source repartition, and it will be 1. So the reason why I'm doing this, the way this process works, and this is kind of what it does by default, it creates mini partitions, and it does that based on the amount, how big the file is. And again, it does that because if you have a big export like you're unloading, let's say a table that has 1 million rows, it breaks it up to chunks, right? Maybe it's 10,000 rows each per file or something like that, right? But there's some kind of, I read a little bit, I just don't remember. There's some kind of formula on how it knows how to, split it up to X amount of files based on the size and all that stuff. So that's kind of what it does by default. Now, that's actually good that it does that. And the reason why it's good is when you're exporting a lot of data out like that, and let's say you're going to have a process that's going to extract that data or read that data, for example, maybe to load it to another system. When you have many files, that's a plus because you could have different like workers set up. You can have like multi-thread transactions where if you have a folder that has 100 files, well, now you could have jobs that are running, in multi-thread processing, or you could have like multiple workers running where now you're like, all right, when one worker runs, let's say it's processing 5 files. With another worker runs, processing another 5 files. Well, now you could have them run all at once, and that'll kind of help speed up the process. Again, not trying to get too technical in that area, but that's kind of where it kind of helps out. Plus, it's easier to read smaller files than big files. It's the reason. In this case, it makes sense when you're processing data, right? So, either way, now that we have that piece, we're gonna keep it as one. The next thing that we're gonna have to add here is going to be our renaming, right? So we need to rename the file. So let's kind of walk through that process real quick. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom. Let me scroll up. Yep, there it goes. And then we're gonna go ahead and import in Boto 3. So the reason why this is Amazon's package. It's already part of Glue, so there's no need to try to install it or nothing like that, right? So we could use all of that, everything that's included. So this would be client Boto 3 client equals S3, right? Because we're dealing with S3 bucket. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Cool. So the next thing we're gonna do bucket name. This would be, what is our SharePoint name? I mean, not SharePoint, what am I talking about? Our bucket name. So this is our bucket name. Go ahead and copy this. Alright, the next thing is going to be our prefix. Again, prefix is, think of it as subfolder names, right? There is, S3 doesn't have a true subfolder structure. It's all objects. So this is more like just metadata. That's all it is, right, at the end of the day. But the way a bucket works in S3 is all objects. It's literally think of it like one folder with many files, but of course the metadata, which again in this case with the prefix, helps separate to kind of give us where we're so used to having folder structure, that kind of view. That's all it does. This would be, what is it? Let me go to it. Yep, staging, that was right. And then unloading. Alright, cool. So this would be staging, and then it will be unloading. Alright, that's our prefix. Then I'm going to call this new file name. So this is where we could specify that. So I'm going to call this, for example, product export CSV. Now you could make this more dynamic. For example, you could either do something where we're going to import in the date time package, and then you could do add some kind of year, month, date, that kind of stuff, right? I mean, again, it's up to you, but for us, what we're going to be doing, just keep it simple. Let me call it something more like master product export, right? Something like that. Let's see. So now let's go ahead and do our response. We're going to call our client. In this case, it would be list objects. So again, keep in mind, in this specific scenario, we're dealing with one folder, which is for products. What I probably would have done different now, like now that I look at it, I should have done it this way to be different in ways. See how I'm under staging? Probably would have what would have made sense in this case would have been staging products, and then of course on top of that, under staging, probably create a folder in here, call it unloading, and then of course in here we'll create a folder to keep it consistent, or just call it product, right? It will be product. The reason why I would have done it this way, I mean, now that I think about it, it makes sense to do it this way, because when we run this process, we wanted to rename only stuff that's in this folder that we're unloading for products. The way I have it over here in the staging, unloading, in theory, this is not specifying anything specific. So, again, technically, you're unloading multiple data tables, products, sales, calls, whatever. You don't want these to come all in here because remember it's going to be different names. You're not going to know which is which. So it would have made sense to do it the other way, but that's fine, right? That's just something to keep in mind. So what I'm going to do here is this is going to be called bucket, and then we're going to call our bucket name that we listed on top. The next one is going to be prefix. Oops. Prefix, and then again we're going to call our prefix so we know where to look for to rename, right? It's ultimately what it's doing here. Okay, so now the next thing that we're going to do here is alright, cool. So the next thing that we're going to do is going to be we're going to do file name, and this would be our response, and we're going to specify context, again index 0 because we're getting the first file that exists, right? Again, keep in mind if you're dealing with mini files, they will be different. We'll have to do some kind of loop to iterate over. It doesn't make sense here because we know we're only going to have one file, because that's what we're doing up here, right? We repartition this to be one file only. So that's why I'm only calling it by index 0, which is the first file that exists. And then this will be key. So what I'm doing here, this is actually the file name key is what I'm getting back. So let me call it that. Let me call it file name key. That kind of makes a little bit more sense. Then I'm going to do copy source equals, oops. So this is going to be a setting like the key and the bucket name that we have to provide whenever we do our copy, right? So that's kind of what I'm just doing here. I'm just building it out. So bucket name, key, and then it's file name key. All right. The next thing here is going to be, you know what? I make it a little bit bigger. Make sure that it's, there it goes. That's good enough. So the next thing is going to be client, copy, copy objects, object. It will be bucket equals bucket name, copy source equals copy source. Again, this is the configuration that we're passing in through here to know, more of the copy source, which is again bucket, and the file that we want to copy. Right, we're being real specific here. We're providing the actual file key of what we want to copy. So that's what we're doing there. Then we have key equals prefix plus new file name. So again, we're generating a new file name. Ultimately, what we're doing here, right? That's what we're doing here. Generate a new file name. And then to finish it off, we're going to do copy, delete, object, bucket, bucket name, key equals file name key. So again, remember, this is the original file that exists. We're going to delete it at the very end. But before we delete it, we're going to make a copy. Right? That's what we're doing here. We're copying this file, but we're going to rename it to the new file, which is, this is our new name right here. So that's pretty much what we're doing here. So now let me go ahead and copy this. And then I'm going to go to, yep, this is my job here. I'm going to go ahead and paste it in here. Hit save. And then now let's run it. Cross fingers, hopefully it works, but let's run it. I'm going to run job. And then again, we could go to Glue Studio. We could take a look at it over here. It does take a while for it to show over here. There's a typo at line 52. Oh, damn. Thanks for the catch. Yep, that's going to error out then. If there's a typo. Yep, I see it. Yep. Okay, cool. So let's get this fixed because it is going to error out. You're right. Nice catch, man, because this is going to error out. Where's my job at? Which is this guy right here. Let's see if it errors out. Nope, it's still running. So what's going to happen is going to generate files, because this is towards the end. So it is going to generate files. And then it's going to error out, of course, right? So let's see once this finishes. Should be stopping any second now. There it goes, failed. Cool. I mean, again, we know why, so that makes sense. So it did export out to one file, because again, we did put repartition 1, so that makes sense. I'm gonna delete this for now. Alright, so now let me go back. Let's edit the script. Go ahead and copy this. And let's save and run job. So at least we did see the job did get saved over here, right? So that piece worked fine because we saw the file populate here. We just now need the file to get saved. So, I mean, not saved, renamed, right? So we know that it did save it, and it did save it under one file. So all of that worked fine. We just now need it to rename it, pretty much, right? So let's give it. I'm not sure why, like their Glue Studio, which is kind of odd to me, I think, right? So if we look at the legacy, this is their legacy job. I am waiting for your video to export large files from S3 to SharePoint using Lambda. And they could run standalone without needing EC2. So I did work on it. I have a video coming. I actually did the video today. I just haven't had time to edit it yet. This is more related to SharePoint. I'm uploading in chunks to SharePoint large files. Now, once I release that video, then I am going to be working on doing the taking exporting large files from S3. Well, that's what you mean, S3 to SharePoint, yes. So I do have a video that I worked on, but this is more part of the Office 365 API, uploading to SharePoint locally to large files in chunks. So that video I do have done, at least to show that piece. I will work on another video after that showing more so the S3, like the source being S3, and using Lambda to export it out, right? So that one's gonna have to be slightly different. I'm gonna have to do some small changes, I think. And the reason for that is What's the reason that I need to do that? Or maybe not. Yeah, either way, I just need to test it out, but I think it should be fine. Okay, boom, I think it's done. Is it done or no? Yep, it is done. So now let me refresh. Let me maybe make sure maybe it's not done yet. It is done. Okay, so let me go back. Did it not? It did not rename the file. Okay, so that's odd. Let's see what happened here. Something happened. Let's take a look at it, right? So what did I call my prefix over here? Staging. Unloading, which is valid. This is my new name, which is fine. List objects, bucket, prefix, that looks all good. Content key, that looks good. File name key, copy source. Copy source equals copy source. This is a new key, which is prefix plus new file name. Oh, you know what? I think I know what happened. Damn it. See right here under file name, I need to specify the /, and the reason why is because I'm doing a join here, right? If I guess what I probably could have done here would have been I mean, I could have created a new object, right? Something like, I don't know, prefix, let's call it like some prefix, file name. Then ultimately it would have been a join. And then of course it would have been the prefix, comma, new file name. If I would have done that, then it would have been I don't have to put the / up here, but because it needs it, it's easier to add it over here. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's not easier. Just got to pick a preference. But that's pretty much what it is. So let me go ahead and copy this. Completely forgot about that. And let's rerun it. We're going to save. I'm going to run job. Let's run. So while this is running, I'm going to delete this old file. All right, so let's get this deleted. All right, cool. All right, so this is running. See this here again, this is the legacy jobs, module, but this actually refreshes way, and you can actually see it moving 17 seconds, 21 seconds. But the Glue Studio, again, under jobs, I mean, it doesn't even show that it's even running. Like, dude, it's actually behind. Like, I don't know, I always find that kind of odd. Like, you come out with a newer version that's supposed to be better, I'm assuming, right? It does have a better UI, I would say, but then it like lacks those basic functionality. Where this one, dude, I just hit refresh and there it goes. See, telling me that it's running 51 seconds in. See, a minute. There it goes. Boom, it's done. And let's see, what does it show over here on Glue Studio? It doesn't even show that it's running yet. Like, what the hell, man? Like, it's real behind. Yeah, that's odd. I'm not sure why. So either way, now let's go ahead and refresh this guy. Boom, there it goes. Master product export CSV. Right? So we got it. Go ahead and click on it. We could download it. And let's open it up. And there you go. Now we have our new with our product. Again, I call this product groups, but with the groupings of each product. And again, there's a few things that we had to do, but I think from an automation standpoint, um, we would do here, and steps would probably be the step one, um, truncate the staging tables in Redshift. Then step two would be run the glue job that moved it from S3 to Redshift. Step three will literally be run another job, which is Redshift to S3 bucket, and that's it. I think those are the only three steps that we need, right? For the way we have it now, right? There's probably other stuff that may need to be added because it is an Excel file, so you got to transform the Excel to CSV and that kind of stuff. But for right now, just assuming that it is in the CSV, in that stage at least, those will be three steps. Truncate and Redshift staging table, run glue job, S3 to Redshift. Then the third step is run the job again, to export it out. So yeah, exactly. The AWS step function. So I think that's kind of what we would do in those three steps. Kind of what I just mentioned there. At least from a starting point, anyways, that would be like the main three steps, right? Um, Again, there's probably other stuff that may need to run even before that for other purposes, but just trying to keep it simple for now. Yeah, I would say we would do that next time. It's already about to be 11 o'clock. So I say when we meet next time, we will continue where we at here, right? At least we know this is good. So we'll continue and we'll work on the steps and try to get that process working for sure. Um, on just kind of seeing a basic flow of doing those few steps that we just kind of talked about. But no, again, guys, we got everything. We went through everything. Everything seemed to be working. Have a little issues here and there, but that was just more so because of, again, missing the slash and just little stuff like that. But I think overall, man, it was pretty smooth. Yeah, for sure, man. Always another productive Friday. It's always good, man. We have productive Fridays, man. Again, it's about trying to test things out, solve problems, do things of that nature, right? And that's the whole purpose of these Friday live sessions, man. That's what we're trying to do here. So, if this is like the perfect time when you do have something to review or look at or test out to kind of do all of that in these live sessions, because it makes it a lot easier, right? To do it, just kind of knock it out, test it out. You can see it firsthand as well, so you'll be able to see what I'm doing or what I'm testing or what's going on as well, and even see my mistakes. Enjoy today's lifestyle. I appreciate it, Sam. Yeah, man, it was real good. Happy weekend for you too. All right, guys. Again, man, it was a productive Friday, like always. It was a good Friday. It's pretty much about to be 11 o'clock already. So, we'll continue again next Friday, guys. Next Friday, anything, we'll continue on the AWS step functions, right? So we'll walk through that and get that working with that piece next Friday. Again, guys, man, appreciate it. Thanks for joining the live stream. Again, productive Friday. So it's always good. I feel good when we have productive Fridays, anyways. So thanks for being on the live stream. And yeah, guys, y'all take care, man. Have a good weekend, and I'll see y'all next Friday, hopefully. All right, y'all take care. Peace.